everyone. So my name's Natalie. For those of you who don't know me, which is probably all of you, I'm a recruitment consultant over at Circuit Recruitment. So for those of you who don't know Circuit, we are a bespoke tech agency. So we help people find jobs purely in the tech space, and we recruit across everything all the way from like cybersecurity, DevOps, data, cloud, through to even my forte, which is software engineering, which is why I'm here to speak to you guys today. I put out a lot of content on LinkedIn about helping people find jobs. It's something that I'm really passionate about. It's why I love my job. It's why I love what I do. So Landing a Job 101 is the name of like a YouTube/LinkedIn video series that I put out. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, then definitely connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to see that kind of stuff pop up on your feed. It's something that I'm passionate about, so that's what I've named my presentation today as well, Landing a Job 101. And I'll get started just by talking to you guys a little bit about my story, because obviously when someone gets up in front of you, it's good to just know a little bit about them as well. I was really pleasantly surprised to hear from the mentors how many of them are career changers, because I can relate to that. I'm also a career changer, except I didn't move into tech. I moved into like tech adjacent, so I'm in recruitment, but still I consider myself to be part of tech because that's where I recruit. And my career journey started off where most people's career journey starts out, which is mainly like, obviously you start to graduate high school and everyone's like, you've got to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. And everyone's like, I got no idea. And I especially had no idea. I was really torn between performing arts and sciences. I really loved both, and I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. And it made it a really, really tough choice. And everyone just said, look, just do what you think is going to make you the most money. And I was like, fine, science it is. I'll do that. So I studied a Bachelor of Science and got halfway through my degree and thought, holy crap, I still have no idea what I want to do. And of course, a Bachelor of Science is not like you become a doctor and then you become a doctor, right? You just have a degree and you're like, cool, got this piece of paper, what do I do with it now, right? So that happened to me. I got to the end of my degree and I was in the exact same position I was in, unfortunately, as I was when I graduated high school. What do I do? I've got no idea what's going on. Unfortunately, I was very intent on getting good grades, but I didn't realize how little that mattered in the grand scheme of things. So I didn't do very much networking. I didn't meet a lot of people. I didn't really try and get a feel for my market or understand what was going on in the future of my career. So that's kind of why I'm here to talk to you guys about today, and hope that you don't make the same mistakes I did. Because yeah, got to the end of my degree, I had no idea what I wanted to do. The more people I spoke to about that dilemma, the more people sort of offered me some friendly advice. And eventually I actually spoke to a lovely lady. I actually went to the gym with her. She just so happened to be a chief neurophysiology scientist at Monash Health. She gave me my first career job, and that was as a neurophys scientist at Monash. And I loved it for the first year and a half, and then quickly started to realize the doom set in of like, this career really ends at a very, very low ceiling, and it's not really in line with what I like and what I want to do long term. So once again, turned to the people in my life, my support network, and I was like, guys, once again, I've got no idea what I'm doing. I'm directionless, help me. And it was my mother-in-law, who's been in recruitment for 2 decades. And she's like, Nat, you've got the gift of the gab. You should become a recruiter. I think you would love it. And I was like, okay, no worries, we'll give that a go. So searched for a job for 4 months, found an entry-level role at Circuit Recruitment, and has not looked back since. I love my job, I love everything about it, and it's opened up so many amazing opportunities to do things like this. So haven't looked back. We'll get stuck into the actual content now and some actual tips and tricks for you. This is something I get asked all the time, so I thought might as well cover it, resume writing. Now, I want you to keep 2 things in mind, because in order to impress a recruiter, you have to think like a recruiter. So I want you to keep 2 main things in mind. The first thing is that we spend less than 30 seconds on your resume. I hate to break it to you. We really don't read through it that thoroughly. We look through hundreds, sometimes thousands of resumes a week. We actually don't have the time and energy to give to your resume. So think about you might be agonizing over 1 sentence that in the grand scheme of things, just it's not that deep. We're probably just looking for a few key words to help you figure out whether you're in the yes or the no pile. So keep that in mind. A hiring manager might read through your resume, so it's still important for you to make sure that you're putting in effort. But the recruiter and the people who are screening it, the non-technical people, probably won't be reading it that thoroughly. thoroughly. And the other thing you want to know is that we use Command Find a lot. we don't understand tech, not that well, not like you guys do, right? What we're looking for is the key languages, key frameworks, key skills and stuff like that that you have. And in order to find that, sometimes through big chunks of text, we're just using command find. So if you have those two things in the back of your mind, you can reverse engineer your CV to try and make it as easy as possible for us to put you in the yes pile. And that's what I want you to get out of today. Now, in order to do that, I have included some more specific tips and tricks here. So do make it visually appealing, for the love of God. Colour is not your enemy. I see so many boring documents on a daily basis. So yeah, avoid large chunks of text. Obviously use dot points. That's Taylor's oldest time. You've probably heard that a million times. And yeah, colour isn't the enemy. Make it pretty. I want to see nice looking documents. I look at so many. If something sticks out, it makes me happy. Avoid anything that can create bias. And I think anybody here who has past history of working in another country and, cultural differences on resumes actually is a big thing. And in some countries, it is customary to put in your marital status, your date of birth, your gender, your religious background. In Australia, it is illegal for anybody to ask you that. They're not allowed to know that because it can create internalized biases within them, and it can actually end up screening you out unfairly. So you're not getting screened out because of, and sometimes people don't mean to do it, but you don't want to give them a reason to. Don't give them a reason to screen you out unfairly. So yeah, don't add any of that stuff in. Pictures is one of those things where you can if you want to. It's really not that big of a deal, but most people say don't add pictures to your resume, so that was a blanket statement. Some other quick tips and tricks is add a list of technologies that you've used under each job that you've done. So this is something people really don't do a lot of, but it helps because if you think about that command find that we have in the back of our head, if I don't have to go searching for the technologies that you've used, you've automatically made it easier for me to read your CV. So for example, if you've worked at Culture Amp for 3 years and you used Ruby and Node, I want you to put Ruby, Node, AWS, whatever else it is, underneath that job. And then if you went and moved on to say Seek and you use JavaScript and Node, then I want you to put that underneath it in a separate little list. It just makes it so easy for us to see straight away what you've done, where you've used it, and it will really help us figure out, okay, yeah, that's definitely the right person for the role. This is how many years they've used X, Y, Z. Keep it to 3 pages max. That's subjective. I see so many resumes that are like 10 pages long and I don't usually screen people out because of that, so don't worry too much. But, succinct is better. And focus on your achievements. Don't waffle. You might be thinking, Nat, how do I make sure I'm not waffling? I'm so glad you asked because I made a slide about it. So I want you to have a question in the back of your mind that you keep in mind when you're reading through your resume. And I want you to ask yourself, is what I've written vague, or does it specifically explain what I've achieved in this role? For example, I see a lot of really vague things like, worked on a billing platform or leading a team, but I don't actually really get to the crux of what you're actually doing. Like I said, this isn't so much for me, who's looking at your CV for 30 seconds. This is more so for the hiring manager that then receives it from me and is then looking through to try and figure out what you've actually achieved. So instead of writing worked on a billing platform, write something along the lines of built a billing platform from scratch in 6 months using Node and React. That tells me exactly what you've done, how you've done it, but it's not too long, not too lengthy, not too bulky. So you try and find that balance between the two when it comes to applying for jobs. That's also a little bit of an art form as well. I'm going to hit you guys with a statistic that I think you might have heard before as well. And they say that men will apply for jobs even if they don't meet 50 to 60% of the criteria. They'll still just go for it. But women won't apply for a job, on average, this is a blanket statement once again, they won't apply for a job unless they've got at least 80% of the criteria. So I want you lovely ladies in the room here to apply for jobs like you were a cis white male who believes they can do anything, okay? Just do it, just do it. You've got nothing to lose, because what you don't see on the back end is that good companies, probably like Culture Amp, will have amazing internal talent teams that might pipeline you for the future. They're actually thinking about talent and who's out there and going, okay, Natalie has just applied for this job, she's not qualified for it, but her CV looks really good and she's got some really interesting experience and she looks like she might be a culture fit here, so I'm going to add her to our CRM or our database. And you might actually go into a little sort of for later folder, and they might contact you down the road. So that brings me to the next, the very last bit, which is apply for jobs at companies that excite you. because even if you're not suitable for that role, they might keep you in mind for later and contact you down the track. So apply for the things that excite you, and definitely personalize your application, because once again, coming back to the command find, if I'm looking for a Node developer and there's no Node in your CV, you're going to be screened out basically instantly. And when you can, just a little bonus tip down the bottom, especially in a really competitive market like this, try and reach out to the recruiter if they're attached to the job ad. So, or a hiring manager, sometimes on LinkedIn, you'll see there's like a little profile attached to it. Reach out to them, connect with them, show them that you're a little bit different. Otherwise you go into like a folder where there's 200 other applications and it's pure luck, whether you get seen or not sometimes. Do anything you can to stand out in a positive way. I'm a science girl, so I do love statistics, so I'm going to hit you with another one. Did you know that up to 85% of jobs are filled through networking? Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not 100% sure how accurate that statistic is, but I did see it do the rounds a lot 3 years ago, and it is based on LinkedIn data, so there's got to be some merit to it. Now, depending on where you're at in your career in this room, it'll apply to you differently. I would say that if you're a bit more junior, you don't have as many connections in the industry, you haven't really proved your worth yet in a job, you're probably going to have to join the rat race like everybody else and, you know, go ahead and just apply for jobs until something sticks. But this will really very much apply to you later in your career. I'm sure if you speak to some of the mentors who have, you know, been around for a long time, you might find that some of them haven't applied for a job formally in the last few jobs that they've had because they get tapped on the shoulder a lot. So even though this isn't necessarily applicable to you if you're junior, if you start thinking about it now and start building up a network now, it pays off in dividends later on in ways you could never imagine. It just makes it so much easier for you to navigate your career. So this is kind of the biggest thing, and also bringing it back to my story. The first 2 jobs that I got or helped navigate my career came from people in my network. That wasn't necessarily a professional network, but still people in my support network. So keeping in mind when it comes to networking, you've got your passive network. So that's how I found my first 2 jobs, just through the people in my life that helped me out in certain ways. Passive network can also relate back to your actual workplace. So once you start in the workforce and you've got a few people on your team, or you've worked with a manager who really likes you, they become part of your passive network. But they're just people you meet passively on a day-to-day basis. You're bound to meet them, you're bound to add them to your network. And they will help you, most definitely. But what I want you to start thinking about today, especially, is your active network. And you've already won half the battle by being here. You're about to meet some amazing mentors, and they're people that you can keep in your network for the rest of your career, right? And I want you to really keep that in mind. Keep coming to events like this. Melbourne is so good for stuff like this. We put on free events that are tech-based all the time. Keep coming, keep meeting people, add them on LinkedIn, stay in touch. It's really, really important that you have that mentality. And to help you do that, I have added a few little tips and tricks there. I want you to understand that this is a challenge. Putting yourself out there is a challenge. It's not going to feel easy. Even for the most extroverted of folk like myself, I sometimes still walk into a room and go, holy crap, I don't know whether anybody in this room wants to talk to me, and I'm really intimidated right now. So the next 2 or 3 bullet points will really help you with that. I want you to try and have a few small talk questions ready. Just have it in the back of your head, like a little arsenal of questions there that you can pull out when you're ready to. You know, what do you do with yourself? What does your company do? What do you enjoy the most about your role? But it's also just as important to have an exit strategy. And it doesn't mean you have to deploy that exit strategy if you're feeling uncomfortable. It could be just that you've been trapped in a conversation with somebody for 15 minutes and you want to work the room a little bit more, right? So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed and you're not sure how to do it, the easiest exit strategy is just to go, oh, so nice to meet you. I'm just feeling a bit thirsty. I'm going to head over and grab a drink. Most of these events are catered, so you can go over and quickly like, oh, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. That's an easy way to just quickly pull yourself out of a conversation. But if you're feeling a bit more confident, you can be like, hey, it was so nice to meet you. It was really great learning about what you're doing over at Culture Amp. Let's stay connected, give them your LinkedIn profile, and just be like, I just promised myself I would meet a few more people tonight, so I'm going to go work the room a little bit more. So, you know, people understand that. You've all come to the event for the same reason. And set yourself a goal. It really, like, you might not hit that goal, but it helps you just go that little bit further if you've made a promise to yourself. So, you know, if you say, okay, I'm going to meet 5 new people at this new event, then you're much more likely to actually achieve that. And also just be yourself, because if you be yourself and you're curious about people and you ask the right questions, then you're going to be much more likely to have success when finding new people to add to your network. So I'm going to leave you guys with a goal and a challenge. Don't leave today without adding at least 5 new people on LinkedIn. You're so lucky that you've got like literally a panel of mentors who you can already just do that by default. You can add me on LinkedIn. I can see you guys whipping out your phones, which is great because it means the QR codes are attractive to you. So yeah, like make sure that you don't leave today without adding at least 5 new people on LinkedIn. And every time you go to a free event, make sure you do that. It will just help you so much because you'll never know when you're in a situation later on where you can go ahead and go, okay, I'm going to tap on. Or say I'm one of your connections, you can tap me on the shoulder in 6 months' time when you're looking for a job. Or say one of the mentors are one of your connections, you could be like, hey, remember me? We met at the Ruby Rails conference. Even if you don't, they're probably going to pretend that they do, right? Because everybody likes helping people. And you can say, I would really love to have a coffee with you because I want to pick your brain about what's going on in the Ruby market at the moment. Even if they can't help you out, people still love to help. So they might give you a resource that will help you out and set you on the right path. So help comes in all different shapes and forms. They don't have to necessarily give you their time, but they probably might provide you with some sort of knowledge or a resource or a message that will set you on the right pathway. And that's exactly what networking is all about. It's about creating your own luck because really, right place, right time, it can create a lot of magic. So let's connect if you are interested in staying in touch. I think I've got a link tree there. There's a YouTube channel with all the rest of my tips and tricks there as well. And then also our CV writing guide if you are still a little bit worried about that and you want a little bit more guidance. So thanks so much for having me. Thank you, Sophie, for inviting me here, and thanks for listening.
Thanks, Natalie.